Hello, everybody. We are back after a little bit of a tough night last night in the NBA world. I think most of the sharp players struggled. We'll just jump right into it. But we're back with a 2-gamer. Nice recovery from a 12-gamer. We're going to dig into the domination station here at DFS Army. We're going to look at some plays, see who we want to play, see who we might want to fade, and just kind of get our early first thoughts on the slate before we dig a bit deeper into what we're really trying to do later today in the pre-lock show that's only for our VIP DFS Army members. We have a link in the description on how to join DFS Army. And once you join our Discord, message me and I'll make sure that you're good to go for today's slate. So yeah, let's go ahead and dig into it. I'm going to ignore the comments for a little bit. I don't know what you guys are doing in there. A lot of conversations about pants and Wisconsin and it's cold. Let's go game by game. It's a 2-gamer, so that won't take too long. Looking at this first game, Bucks versus Sixers. We've seen the Sixers play. We saw them play on Tuesday. The Bucks we have not seen play yet. So the good news is we have a little bit more clarity around how the rotation, what the rotation is going to look like for the Sixers. The bad news is when it comes to the Bucks, we don't know what that will look like as much. But that's a little bit of a less scary situation than a lot of the situations that we had yesterday because the Bucks, they didn't add too many pieces. Joe Ingles is out. Chris Middleton's out. Pat Connaughton's out. And a lot of the guys left on this team are just guys that we're familiar with from last year. And so we have at least an idea around how they will operate. And also the spread is relatively small, so at 4.5. So definitely something that a game that we want to target, and honestly, the game I feel the safest with. I just think the floor is much more consistent in this game than in the game after this. So yeah, let's start with the guard position. Yeah, Embiid versus Giannis, and they both historically they crush against each other. Historically, Giannis and Embiid are having fantastic games against each other. So I think that's definitely going to be a narrative, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that. Well, let's wait a little bit. So starting with the guard position for this Sixers versus Bucks game. Let's sort by salary. We have James Harden at $9,000. That's a little expensive. At least originally, the price tag feels a little expensive. But we saw on Tuesday they were giving him those foul calls. He was looking slimmer and quicker. Definitely the best I've seen him look in a while. Is he worth $9,000? We'll see. I want to see where his ownership falls. I don't think he'll be all that popular, so that makes the fade not that original or special. So I can see a world where I match the field, but I'm not feeling great about it. We have Drew Holiday, always in a better situation than he was originally when Chris Middleton's out, but not a player we're trying to force, really. Tyrese Maxey, he had an okay game on Tuesday. I definitely do kind of want to go back to the well a little bit there when it comes to Maxey, hoping, fingers crossed, that his ownership is a little bit lower. And then Grayson Allen might start today. He should start. So yeah, I'll be interested in seeing that starting lineup. I believe we saw him start in the playoffs a little bit last year at the shooting guard position, but that's just me going off of pure memory here. And even a guy like Jordan Nora, like I can see him having a sneaky good game with Chris Middleton out. Guys like George Hill, D'Anthony Melton, Wesley Matthews, these are more like fringe plays. Jevon Carter, guys that I probably wouldn't want more than 20% of. We just know with D'Anthony Melton in particular, we know he's not going to see a ton of minutes, but he can do a lot with those minutes. There's a ton of risk of him putting up a big zero for you, but it's nice to have a little bit of exposure to guys like that, just because they might come through and might have a high upside ceiling performance for you at a cheap price. That's usually how you handle those situations. Now, the forward position is where things get interesting a little bit. We have Giannis, who we haven't seen play this year, but we know he can crush and break a slate for us pretty easily. And so he's definitely going to be probably one of the primary targets for everyone on this slate. Not to mention, when Chris Middleton is out, his usage rate increases, his fantasy points per minute increases. We are going to want some exposure to Giannis today. Tobias Harris had a sneaky good game on Tuesday. This is a much tougher matchup, I believe, for him. So I don't think I'll be going that high on him, but we'll see what happens by the end of the slate. Bobby Portis is another player who, when Chris Middleton is out, that's typically when you see those ceiling Bobby Portis games. So he's definitely going to be someone that we want to keep on our radar as well. And PJ Tucker, I was on him on Tuesday. He gave us a nice little snowflake to start the season off with. And to be honest with you, I'll probably go back to him again today if he's not going to be popular. Daniel House, George Niang, I usually go to them when there's some injuries on the team. So I doubt I'll be going there today as well. I know, man. It's sometimes you just get so freaking close to taking down a contest, and I think Bam Adebayo crushed a lot of us yesterday. It's just like, oh, if I just didn't play him, we could be sitting on some money right now. But that's the way it goes. You're always one or two away until you're not. So I always tell people, it's good to try to keep the thought process of like, hey, well, if it hasn't worked for you. For me, I'm always like, hey, like this has worked before. Don't get too down on yourself. Like just keep going through the process, trust yourself, trust your bets, and be willing to take those risks because you've seen it work out for yourself. So don't forget about that. Before, when I first started, I just wanted to keep trying things and trying to get more new information and learning and developing and just getting a little bit better every day. And so I kept trying to watch new podcasts, see how everyone's thinking, and just trying to be more critical upon myself on things that I can do to get better until I start to have a system that worked for me, which we talk about in the pre-luck show. So yeah, that's kind of my thought process. 20 max only for me. Yeah, that's what I do on larger slates. I'm okay with these smaller slates though. But yeah, the center position, that's when our boy Joel Embiid comes in. Embiid struggled on Tuesday. I don't know. I don't know. He just wasn't himself. He wasn't awful. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't great. He didn't have that MVP like performance. Hopefully today we see that switch. Embiid, just like Giannis, typically crushes this matchup. Hopefully he can perform well in this spot. I'm not really interested in Bobby Portis, not really interested in Brook Lopez. Both of those guys, let me go back. Those two have some interest, actually. Less Brook Lopez, more Bobby Portis. Both of those two players are at risk of or at risk of getting into foul trouble, but they still have some offensive upside. So I might still have some exposure. We'll see where I fall by the end of the slate, but definitely something to think about. Now, this next game, the Clippers and Lakers game, is the one that I'm not feeling as great about. I was excited about it yesterday when potentially I thought Reggie Jackson might miss this game. That would have made this slate so much better, and I would have thrown all my money at it. But since that's not the case, we have this weird rotation issue, I'll call it, with the Clippers in their guards. They have a lot of guards that they will be playing, and it's just going to be tough to get it right. Because I think we know most of the minutes will go to George, Powell, Wall, Jackson. But on a small slate like this, you have to consider guys like Mann and Kennard because they can do just enough for that last spot. So those are things that we should think about on this slate and when we start making our lineups. That you don't have to completely fade it. We'll see Kendrick Nunn will be a lot less popular, probably Austin Reeves as well. Kendrick Nunn did hit a few of those shots though, so that's something to definitely consider. Okay, CashKeg always preaching about at most one of LBJ and AD, thinking hard about playing both in the same lineup. Yeah, and for those who don't know, CashKeg is one of our main coaches. He's really kind of like over the entire NBA staff. And that's his philosophy. Like, you don't play LeBron James and Anthony Davis together. In most cases, I would say he's right. On a small slate, you see things like we saw on Tuesday. Like, you'll see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown being the same nuts winning lineup. So that happens on these smaller slates. I don't know if I'll personally have any exposure to LBJ and Anthony Davis, but it's something that I'm not against. So we'll see later today what we end up working with, but it's something that I'm not afraid of. So yeah, this guard situation for the Clippers is a little bit of a crazy circus, but we'll figure it out by tonight. Russell Westbrook, he saw more time than I think we thought he would the other night. So as someone that at his price tag, I don't think we have to get to, but he's not the X out that he was on Tuesday. The other guards are definitely still interesting as well for the Lakers. For the forward position, like we see LeBron James, Anthony Davis right there up there at the top. Picking your stars and studs tonight might be a little tough. You have guys like Kawhi and Paul George kind of in that tier 2 where they're kind of like fitting in the middle a little bit, where they might fall under the radar. I wouldn't be shocked to see a guy like, as long as Kawhi comes back and ideally sees like roughly 30 minutes, I wouldn't be shocked to see him end up in the Nuts lineup tonight, just kind of falling through the weeds a little bit, where you could probably do like a Kawhi Giannis lineup or like a Kawhi Embiid lineup with some other fillers is probably an interesting way to go. So yeah, I kind of like that. Also, once again, not against LBJ and Anthony Davis whatsoever. The center position, we have Zubac. Zubac, we've seen him be a slate breaker before. He's not someone that we're trying to force once again, but definitely someone to keep on our radar as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much ran through the slate, pretty much what to expect, players to kind of keep on our radar. I'll be interested, for me personally, just kind of digging into some of these specific matchups a little bit more and really trying to dig into that Clippers rotation and get a good grip on what I'm doing tonight. But yeah, guys, I think we're good to go. We really sped through this slate. Look forward to seeing you guys at the pre-lock show at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. On Fridays, things will be a little bit different for the pre-lock show. We'll still have this show at 12, but the pre-lock show will be slightly earlier at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And the reasoning for that is just because I have the football show, Tournament Tactics, at 5 p.m. Eastern. So just some scheduling things. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for sticking this out with me. Let's crush it today. Forget about tomorrow. Get rid of that negative energy. And let's do it. Peace.